Hi everybody, Hub Arkush here for Pro Football Weekly, and it's time for Exploit and Avoid, the key matchups you want to get into and stay away from in your fantasy football league this weekend. For that, I welcome in our senior editor, Mike Wilkening. Wilkie is our fantasy football expert, and let's start in Buffalo, where a couple of running backs continue to look like a good matchup.
Yeah, in Buffalo, you've got C.J. Spiller, you've got Fred Jackson. It's been a quandary for fantasy owners, and I think last week there were some owners that probably sat Fred Jackson thinking, okay, carries fell off the previous week, Spiller's the starter now. Well, Fred Jackson got 25 carries last week, and it kind of proved to me that he's going to have an opportunity to get enough carries to be a viable starter in all formats, particularly as kind of a flex guy. To me, Spiller is always a start, and Fred Jackson's kind of back in that category, particularly as a flex this week.
All right, Mike, what about that Packers-Lions game? You see some low-hanging fruit there?
I do. I really think that this is a wonderful matchup for Green Bay. Now, of course, Jordy Nelson with the hamstring may not go in Week 14, so you set him aside. But a guy like James Jones, who's played a lot, hasn't had a lot of targets. Randall Cobb, who I think is still going to be a key part of the attack with Greg Jennings back. Jermichael Finley, a touchdown versus Detroit in the first meeting between the teams. I really think the Packers could take a step forward in the passing game in the rematch with Detroit. I think Detroit's a little shaky in the secondary. They've given up some late drives in games. I really think the Packers can make a lot of difference for a lot of fantasy owners this week.
Now, that's at least 5 players you can look for on the plus side. Now, on the downside, who do you want to get on the bench right away?
You know, I just think we're at the point with Chargers running back Ryan Matthews where you say, you look at the matchups before kind of starting him or not. I think Matthews is a viable starter as a flex. I don't think you can expect a lot at this point, though. Pittsburgh's been pretty good versus the run. Now, they've given up more than 100 in the last 2 weeks. One of those games was to Ray Rice, and Matthews just hasn't taken that step forward this year. That San Diego offense, in fact, has kind of taken a step backwards. So to me, Matthews is not a guy I would want to start if I needed to get a certain number of points. I can't depend on him at this point.
Another matchup that scares you a little bit in that Oakland-Denver game?
Yeah, the Oakland offense, to me, is just not the type of form that you would like, all things considered. I think Denver's a tough matchup for them. They allowed only 6 points, no offensive touchdowns in the first meeting between the teams. I just think, again, this comes down to expectations and what you want out of certain fantasy football players. If you've got other options, I think you look elsewhere other than Oakland players. I just think it's a tough matchup, and the offense, to me, kind of going in the wrong direction.
All right, that'll do it for Week 14, matchups to exploit and avoid in the NFL. For all the best in fantasy football information, or all the best in news, notes, and analysis, all the news, scoops, and rumors before they happen, you want to stay tuned into ProFootballWeekly.com 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.